So I guess they're talking about the mine that's over there and the things that are in the ground over there. And then it's different when you come into Fort Francis. Talked about the Rainier Train Bridge, about the two spirits that live there. So I've noticed that when people that are younger, they're not acknowledging those. So I wanted to bring it to light. So that's what I'm going to present about a little bit later today. But for now, I'm going to do some C-form sentences. And if anyone's ever worked with C-form sentences, there's three types of sentences: A form, B form, C form. A form is like a complete sentence. B form is an incomplete sentence, and C form is interrogative. So think of interrogative as you're interrogating somebody. You know, imagine you're the policeman. You're interviewing this guy about a crime. You're going to ask him a bunch of questions like who, what, where, what time. And that's what C form is. They're all the who, what, where, when, why, and how. They all start out that way. What is your name? You know, what is the name of the movie you're going to? Why are you going to the movie? When are you going to the movie? So all those, as soon as you hear those, you know that you're talking about C form. So C form has two different rules actually that happen. Something called initial vowel change. So initial is like the first thing, and the first vowel, initial vowel, the first vowel you see in the word, in the verb, has to change. So that's number one. Second thing is the person you're talking about is at the end of the sentence. So at the end of the verb. So it could be like, you know, Bimose is walking. It would be Bimose yan when I walk. Bimose yen when you walk. Bimosed when he walks. Bimose wad when they walk. So the thing is at the end. And that's called a person indicator. It talks about who you're talking about, and that's how that one works. It gets a little bit complicated because different words have different vowels in them, and people tend to change them a little bit differently. One thing that I've noticed, because I'm in Rainy Lake, I use the Rainy Lake dialect. We don't always use that initial change on the first vowel. Instead, we use this thing called gi. Gi is the past tense, and when you change it, it changes to ga. So ga has a lot of uses for it. It's not just initial vowel change. The other thing that it does is it could talk about turning a sentence into a verb and a noun at the same time. So a noun-like verb. So where that comes into play is you're starting out with an action, and 80% of Ojibwe are verbs. So now if you throw it into a noun-like verb, it wants to change into a noun, into an object. But then again, it still wants to stay a verb because it's 80% verbs in our language. So they turn into both of them. So in English, it might sound like if you say ga namattabid, ga namattabid. Namattabid is the word in there, the verb. And namattabid, the D means him or her. And then the ga is also the initial change on there. So when I hear ga and namattabid, in English, it sounds like the one who is sitting. So the one who is the noun, and then sitting is the action. So in there, you can hear it as a verb, and you can hear it as a noun. So that's what I mean when I say a noun-like verb. It's a noun-like verb. It's the one who is the noun part, and then sitting is the action part of it. So it doesn't want to go quite to the full 100% noun. It still wants some of the verb part. Does that make sense to everybody? Kind of a noun-like verb. It's not really an action. It's not really an object either. It's kind of both is what the point is. So that's what a noun-like verb is. So this word ga, it changes things into a noun-like verb. So it'll sound a little odd in English. You know, the one who is sitting, the ones who are sitting, you are the one who is sitting. It sounds kind of weird like that, but it kind of turns it into an object at the same time. So that's what we're going to do. I needed to touch on that ga one because in my dialect over here, we use ga quite a bit. And then I see it quite a bit up north too with Kenora and Dryden. Did some translations with some elders up there, and I noticed they use it too. So they use it up there too. Minnesota, they'll use it once in a while, but they have their own way of doing it, and I'll show you guys that way too. And it'd be interesting to know how other people do it. So as I'm doing this, feel free to stop me. I mean, I work best when I'm asked questions. That way I can help you guys with clarification or anything that people are not familiar with, because I'm a learner too. You know, I've had to learn this from scratch, and some of the problems that people are running into, chances are I ran into them too. So, you know, just ask me. I probably went through it a few times or thought about them. So that's how that one works. All right, so I'm gonna share my screen, and when I share my screen, oops, my, oh, there it is, share screen. I'm gonna go over this document really quick, and I think I emailed it to, was it Shannon? Yeah, Shannon. So I'm gonna share this notebook file, and let's see, is it that one? Yeah, there we go. So here's what I was talking about. So here's the initial vowel change. If anyone's ever used those old dictionaries, the Minnesota Concise, it's in the first few pages of there. You'll have something that looks like this. So it just talks about unchanged, changed, and kind of looks kind of a lot of information. You know, what the heck does that mean? And we'll go through some of those right now. The first thing you got to do is you got to recognize what the first vowel is. And it really inspires me when I'm listening to elders speak Ojibwe and fluent speakers, because when they're making these changes, they make them automatically. You know, for me, I got to think, you know, okay, well, what's the first vowel in there? Like bimose, bi. Okay, so the first vowel is I. Now, what does that change to? And I look on this chart, and it says I changes to E. So bimose would be bemose. Bemose, and then the person has got to be at the end. So bemoseid. Oh, okay. So, and then while I'm doing that, the speakers are already done saying what they're saying, bemoseid, and then they keep going on and what they're talking about. So for me, I have to get familiar with that, and that's what took me some time. So recognizing the first vowel in the word is the first thing. So these are what they change to. So if you have a word, let's say the word is Underwangigay, starts with an A. So the A changes. So the first vowel, Underwangigay, is he or she hunts. So I'll kind of look back to my chart. If you're going to ever memorize something, memorize this, because this is very important to language. This will come up quite a bit. So just remember the unchanged. So the letter A changes to an E. So I'll remember that. So the Underwangigay, the letter A changes to an E. So I'll just go in there, and that's the way that one works. The next one, the way it works is that it has two A's in there. It changes to a ya, a ya. So going back to this word, Adzoke, he or she tells legends. That one could change to a ya, a ya. Ayad is okay. Ayad is okay. So you might hear it like that. The other one, the next one, the letter B, or the letter E, sorry, changes to aye. So Bejibatu is the word. The first vowel in there is an E. Notice it's not at the beginning this time, it's after this, but it's still the first vowel that you see. So the letter E, we go back to our chart, changes to aye, aye. So I'll go there and I'll change that to aye. And I'll just kind of type in there aye. Throw that in there. And that's what that one would change to. So it sounds differently. It sounds like bayejibatu, bayejibatu. So it sounds differently. So as soon as you hear that change, you know, oh, okay. Changing from a verb to a noun-like verb. The next one is the letter I. The letter I. So I picked this word debajamo. Debajamo, he or she tells a story. he or she narrates. First vowel I see in there is the letter I, so that one will have to change. And the I changes to an E, Debajamud, Debajamud. And then how do I know that? I go back to this chart. I look at the letter I, and it changes to E. So I guess I'll go through the whole thing. Bindige, the first vowels in there are the letter I. So I'll look in there and it says AA on there. I changes to AA. So you got to recognize these changes. And this is kind of where dialect comes into play. So once you recognize the first vowel and you change it and you start getting familiar with that, you'll start noticing dialects change this differently. So what I want to show you guys is how Rainy Lake dialect does it. So the letters AA, E, and O are done a little bit differently, and I'll show you guys here. Maybe I'll put a little, I don't know, a star or something on there. A star. All right. And then O. I think there was a third one, AAE. There was those two. So this is kind of where dialect comes into play. What Rainy Lake dialect does is when a letter like double A starts out, let's say odd is okay. He or she tells a legend. As soon as that double A comes into play, they actually add something to the beginning. They add GII. And then after the GII, then they do the initial change. If you guys remember the thing on preverbs that we did a while back, this is a preverb. It means something in the past. So they add that on there. So now the first vowel we see isn't AA anymore. It's II. So now we have to change the II on there. And if we look up at our chart, II switches to AA. And kind of what I was talking about when I first started the session today. And then the person you're talking about is at the end of the verb. So I'm just going to use third person. God's okay. God's okay. So now it means the same thing. The one who is telling the legend. But that's the way Rainy Lake dialect does it. And the same thing with the letter E. So I think we had Bejibatude. Bejibatude is the word that we had. Let me just find it here. Bejibatude. There it is right there. So that would change to Gom Bejibatude. It'd be like that. And that's how that one works. So that's just specific with dialect. So you'd have to figure out your own dialect. And it's pretty easy. You just go up to an elder, a couple of elders, and then you show them some of these words. And how would you say the one who is, and then whatever the verb is. So you could use any one of these verbs, Andawinchige. How would you say the one who is hunting? And then they would either say Indawinchigade, or they would say Ga Andawinchigade. So you can find it out that way, and just go through the whole list, and then you can figure out the pattern. And that way you figure out the pattern. And the pattern that I figured out with our dialects is these ones that start with two A's, an E, and two O's. Those ones are the ones where we use Ga. Ga. So that's how that one works. Any questions about that one? It's kind of a steep learning curve right off the bat because there's a lot of things going on. Recognize the first vowel. Oh no, the vowel's not an A. It's two A's. What do I do with two A's? Or you got to figure those out. So it's kind of a steep learning curve. But that's once you get it down packed, you're okay. I know a lot of dialects use it this way, the way that I was showing you guys. And I'm not sure what other dialects use it that way. There was somebody in the chat there. I can't bring up the chat for some reason. Shannon, do you know what the chat says?
Oh, sorry, that was me. I was just saying that was really helpful because I've come across sentences with gi, ga, ga, and I couldn't figure out why there was more past tense markers than I would have expected. So it was very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first vowel actually can change in many different times. So I'm going to go through this a little bit slower too because I want to make sure that I'm thorough while I'm doing this. So this happens with who, what, where, when, why questions that we were doing. So I'm looking at my screen. I have who, what, where, when, why. You know, there's a few of them on there. I'm just go through some examples on here. So I want to say who is the one that is hunting. So I look for who, going in. I look for hunting. Hunting is our first word, underwing jige. And then the one who is the letter T. I think that I need to spend some time on person indicators really quick before I get into that.
Say hi. I wanted to know if I could ask my chat question. I think it got missed.
Sure.
So in Minnesota, you mentioned, you know, the difference in dialects, and I'm a total kind of newbie here too, and just have gone to a few workshops, and I know some speakers, fluent speakers, but I went to a workshop last year, and they like started the whole thing out with this neen, geen, and ween, which is me, us, you all. So I'm wondering if this ga concept that you're showing now is sort of like that version for us in Minnesota. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So are you in Minnesota? Is that
I am.
Okay, cool. So this chart actually would be working for you because you wouldn't have to use all this GA stuff.
Cool.
They use a lot of just straight up like that, the way it is.
Yeah. Yep.
So that part is consistent with where you are.
Okay. Cool.
And then when you're talking about neen meaning me, geen meaning you, ween meaning him or her, gina wind is us, gina wa is you all, weena wa they or them.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna kind of work on today is they, them, us, you. That's what we're gonna do today.
All right.
So it'll come into play right here.
All right. I'm on mute now. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for the question. So there's 7 people that we're going to talk about, you know, not that we're gossipers or anything. We're just going to call them 7 people. So the first person, if you look at my screen, is I or me. And then it says yawn at the end. So that's the ending on there, yawn. So if I want to say who, right here, who, awain an, underwain jige, I'd ask yawn. And it kind of doesn't make sense when I think about it. Like if you translate it in English, who is the one that I am hunting? It's like, and then you have to change your verb. Oh, who am I hunting? So you're thinking like, oh, you're going after either a deer or a moose or something. Oh, this doesn't make sense. You got to use a different verb. So if I translate this, it doesn't translate right. So if I change it to the letter D, him or her, awain an underwain jigid, something's got to happen. This A has to change to the letter E. So I'll just kind of throw it over that. Awain an and awain jigid. Awain an and awain jigid. So now it's a complete sentence. It's who is the one who is hunting? It's literally what you're saying. So remember I was saying this turns this verb underwain jigid, he or she is hunting, turns into a noun-like verb. So in English, it might sound like, who is the one who is hunting? So the one who is the noun, and then hunting is the action. So it's It can't really make up its mind. It wants to be a verb, but then it wants to be a noun, so it's both. Who is the one who is hunting is how it sounds in English. So that's how that one works. Yun is you. If we go further down, let me just scroll down a bit. The ending young. There's two we's. There's we inclusive and we exclusive. So let's say I'm going to the gas up at the gas bar, and someone sees like a bunch of fishing rods in the back of the truck and says, "Oh, where are you going?" So we're going fishing. So if I use inclusive, we're going fishing, that means he's included. The person I'm talking to is included in this. Oh, we're going fishing, so I'm including him, and you know, he's going to start saying, "Oh, I get off at 3 or whatever, and I'll go hunting after that." So he thinks he's included if you use that one, the person you're talking to. But if I use this one, yang, we're going fishing, that means me and whoever else is behind me or whoever's with me, we're going fishing, not you. So he knows that he's not included. So that's what that means, where you're including the person you're talking to or you're excluding the person you're talking to. And the way I remember it is the way I look at inclusive. I remember when I say this word young, Y-A-N-G, I can say to someone, we were all young at some point. We were all 10-year-olds at some point in our life, including you. So that's how I remember young. We were all young at some point. That's how I remember that ending, young. So that's a good way to remember it. And then yang is excluding the person you're talking to. So, you know, we're young, me and whoever else I'm talking about. Yeg, you all, if you're talking to a crowd of people, you all are going hunting, or you all are going fishing. And then the last one is wad, they or them, you know, they're going fishing. You see a crew of people going by outside in a boat. You can say, ga we bana bead, ga we bana be wad. They're the ones who are going hunting. So you could use it that way as well. So those are the person indicators, and that's what I mean about the person has to be at the end of the word. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these, and this is how it works, but you have to translate it in your head to see if it translates correctly. So if I said onde, and I switch onde to where, this would make sense. So take that out and change that to yon and change it to an e. Onde eindoenjigeyon. Onde eindoenjigeyon translates to where am I going hunting? Where am I going hunting? Switch it to you. Onde eindoenjigeyon. Onde eindoenjigeyon. So the yun starts with it ends in a yun. But what I find is that if you start saying it faster and faster, it sounds like the Y is like an I. Onde eindoenjigeyon. Onde eindoenjigeyon. If you say it real fast, it sounds like that. So you might hear it that way as well. Switching that to third person, him or her. Onde eindoenjiged. Onde eindoenjiged. Where is he or she going hunting? Change it to young. Onde eindoenjigeyong. Where are we going hunting? Where are we going hunting? So with this formula, you know, there's seven people on here. You could have 7 different sentences with just this one word onde. And then you could change it from onde to who's going hunting, or let's try one we haven't tried yet. When, oninapi, you could switch that to, and you got 7 more sentences now that you're dealing with. So seven new sentences you have. So just with this one word, you could have, let's see, 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 42. You could have 42 sentences with just this one word. And then imagine you switch the word out, and you have 42 new sentences that you can say. So that's why I like this one. It's a sentence builder. You can start switching it as long as you know these ones. I know that Anishinaabemowin, as you go further north, they might say Anishinaabemowin. So that's where Anish is right here, Anish Y. That's a different way you can say it. So that's kind of how this whole thing works. So you got to recognize the first vowel. So I'm going to go down to the next one. So this word odds okay is one. Now telling legends. And when I go back to this one, I look, oh, there's a star there. It begins with two A's. In my dialect, I have to use ga. So right away, I'll put ga right there. I won't use this aya. If you're in Minnesota, you would use this aya. You would use aya dizoke right there. Aya dizoke. But if you're in Rainy Lake dialect, you'd say odd is okay. And then you would maybe let's use young. So we are the ones who are hunting. Let's bring to the front. There we go. So God's okay. And then you can start asking, who is telling legends? Who are the ones that are us that are telling the legends? Away and God's okay young. Who are we the ones who are telling legends? Who are we? You could change to Awegonan. Awegonan God's okay young. What legend are we telling? Is how it might translate. Literally, you're saying in English is what are the ones who are telling legends us? So you kind of work it out in your brain. Oh, that means what legends are we telling? What legends are we telling? So that's how that one works. Where? Onde God's okay young. Where are we telling legends? So that's how that one goes through. Going through a couple more. Maybe this word runs slowly, Bejibitude. And I'll look back up here and I'll say, oh, it starts with the letter E, but it has a star on there. So I know in my dialect that I have to use ga again. And then Bejibitude. Maybe I'll say the letter D, third person. Moves to the front. So that way, maybe I'll slide them over a bit so we can add some stuff. And then I'm going to say, who is the one who is running slow? So I'll grab who, away nan. I did my initial change already. Got the person talking about at the end. And then all I have to do is say, away nan ga bejibatud. Away nan ga bejibatud. Who is the one who is running? I want to say where? Onde. Onde ga bejibatud. Onde ga bejibatud. Where is he or she running? Where is he or she running to? So you can do that if you wanted. You could say why. You know, if you was watching Forrest Gump the other day, I guess you could say this one. Anishinaabemowin ga bejibatud. Why is he running slow? When he's jogging. Anishinaabemowin ga bejibatud. Why is he or she running slow? So that's kind of how that one works. And you just kind of go through all of them. It's actually kind of simple. The next one is the letter I. So maybe I'll try the letter I. Debajimo. Debajimo is the word. So I want to use this one. And I want to say who is telling legends. So then I put the letter D on here. And then I'll put order bring to the front. And then the letter I changes to an E. So that one would be Debajimud. Debajimud. So that's kind of how that one works. All right, so any questions on this one so far? I want to bring it to another level here. All right. All right, so what I'm saying, I want to take it to another level. Some of these will change because of preverbs. So I want to go down to some preverbs that we're talking about. So here are some sample ones. Let's say Gagwe. Gagwe is like try. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to bring it up to one of these ones. And then let's say wake up. Kushkoze, wake up. Who, it says where did you wake up? Yawn. It's right there. So the O changes. We'll look at that. Go up to our chart. First letter is an O, changes to a W-E. So go back down. And then this would sound like Guesh, O, Guesh. So it would sound like that. Guesh Koze. Ande Guesh Kozeyan. Where did you wake up? Ande Guesh Kozeyan. Change it to him or her. Ande Guesh Kozid. Where did he or she wake up? So I want to use this other verb, preverb actually, and I'm just going to paste it on here. It's Gagwe. So Gagwe can go at the beginning, and let's maybe, sorry about the noise, guys. Someone's doing dishes here. So Gagwe is the first word. So Gagwe is try. Where's he trying to wake up? Sounds kind of weird. Where is he trying to wake up? But let's just go with it for now. And so the first vowel is different now. The first vowel is not the letter O, it's the letter E on here, or the letter A, sorry. So if we go back up to our chart, A changes to E. So ande ge gwe gush kozid, ande gwe gwe, ande ge gwe gush kozid. Where is he or she trying to wake up? So that's how that one would roll out. I wonder why I can't bring up chat. I see people chatting, but.
Hey, Jason, someone asked for the link, so I just posted it in the chat.
Okay. So that's how that one works. So the vowels will change on that one. Another common one is ane. Ane, in the process of doing something. So that'll go at the beginning. So ane, where is he or she in the process of waking up? So the first vowel is the letter E on here. And that's kind of how that one rolls out. So that, just be aware that it's the first vowel in the verb that changes. So that's how that one works. And that's probably the complicated part. That's there's not really any too much things that are too complicated other than that. The only thing to be aware of is this this dialect too. Some people will change those letters from ga. So we'll hear it in examples of, there's another word for February, and God kozit Jesus, God kozit Jesus. I don't know if anyone's heard that one. Dekuze means to be short. You know, they're not very tall, short. And then when you say God dekuzit, Jesus is the month. You're literally saying the one who is being short month. And that's what they call February in some places. So that's why this this Ga thing is comes into play quite a bit. Other than that, yeah, I did the preverbs in there. The preverbs get a little tricky sometimes because you have to look at the first verb or the first vowel. All right. Any questions on this one? All right, let's see. I'm busy. So that's how that one is done. And that's how I could do that. I guess we can do some sentence breakdown if you guys want to, if you're up for that. I know that this is a lot to learn right off the bat. I know that this will take some time. So I sent this to Shannon. So if you guys want it, she can just forward it to you. And it has this chart on there. Has this notebook file on there. So if you want to just check it out. Yeah. So just mess around with it. Throw some preverbs in there if you want, and just get familiar with it, and that will help you get familiar with that. And they're pretty simple. The formula is right here, right at the bottom here. You have who, what, where, when, why. First vowel's got to change, and the person you're talking about is at the end. You can do exercises like that, and they're pretty simple. You know, that's pretty much C form in a nutshell. That's kind of what's going on in that one.
Cool. So would you change the question that went in? Naganid?
Oh yeah, Baziga. Yeah, what's your translation for that?
Oh, who's washing dishes?
Yeah, yeah, that could be a really good one. Yeah,
because would that be the change that would happen in it?
Yeah, so you'd look at that one, and then you would look at, you already did the person you're talking about is at the end.
Yeah.
And then you would change that to AA. Wainan Bazaganid. Wainan Bazaganid. We could also do, I see dialects do this quite a bit. Wainan Ga Bizaganid. Who is the one who is washing dishes? Yeah, a couple ways you can do it. Check them out with some of the elders in your area, because I don't know how far this Ga one goes, if it goes into Manitoba. Manitoba is pretty close to our way of speaking.
Yeah.
There's a lot of words that are similar that we use. It gets a little tricky when you go up to Ojibwe or Cree. You know, they tend to do things a little bit differently. But yeah, there's a couple ways you can do it.
There's a question in the chat. Is this the form you use when you have two verbs in a sentence? Like I'm talking while I'm walking.
Oh, I'm talking while I'm walking. Yeah, you could. You could say while I'm walking. Yeah, let me scroll down here. Let me just translate this. Yeah. what's the word for while? Giga? No, gig.
What?
Yeah, that's one way you could do it. Nangi good bimose. So I'm talking and I'm walking. This is what this one says on here. You know, when you're translating, a couple things go on when you're translating. Two things is sometimes you make it sound too English when you're translating. So when I say that, it's like you're literally saying, I am talking while I'm walking. The other one is the way traditional speakers speak is they'll give you enough information so that you can figure it out in your head. So with this one, I'm talking and I'm walking. So in their head, they can translate it a number of different ways. They can translate it literally, like I am walking, I am talking while I'm walking, and then you could translate that any way you want if you have this information, because you know that they're talking, you also know that they're walking. So in your head, you can translate it as I'm talking while I'm walking, or you could translate it literally, I'm talking and I'm walking. The other one that you could do is you can literally use the word while. And I'm trying to figure out what the word while is. Straight off the top of my head, I can't remember. Does anyone know the word for while?
Megwa?
Megwa, yeah, that's the
Megwa
word.
bimosayang kagigid.
Yeah, so you could say that one. You could say megwa. Good megwa bimosed. So I'm talking while I'm walking. That's a literal translation. I'm talking while I'm walking. Cool thing about Ojibwe is a lot of different ways you can do it. You know, it seems like with English, it kind of limits it to just one way of doing something. But with Ojibwe, you know, if you have a word like this, Ningigid Megwa Bimosed, there's a lot of different ways you can translate that. I'm talking while I'm walking, or while I'm walking, I'm still talking. It could be a lot of different ways.
Would that be like Asia bimosayang kagigid?
Yeah, Asia bimosed, yeah, I'm walking a certain way. You know, when you think of that word Asia, it's kind of like, okay, you're walking, but you're doing something else. There's more information to it than just walking. You're doing something else too. So let me listen to the rest of the sentence and then, oh, okay, I'm talking while I'm walking. All right, I got it. So that's a cool thing with preverbs is they can make your sentences more colorful and more meaningful that way. Yeah,
Jason,
good question.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So Bimoset is he or she is walking, right? So wouldn't Bimosean be more I'm walking?
Yeah, you got it, Charlotte. I was just, yeah. Good megwa bimosean is what that one is. So that's kind of how that one works. I guess that'll be it for today. If anyone else has any more questions about this.
There's one more question in the chat. In the term of word order, does Megwa bridge the independent clause with the dependent clause?
Yeah, it could. But also, like it sounds more better when I say that. You could say Ningigit Bemoseyan Megwa. You could say that. But this one sounds a little bit more clear when I put Megwa in there. Yeah, but like I said, with Ojibwe language, the way it works, it gives you all this information that's in the sentence, and then you translate it in your head. Oh, okay, I know what that means. While I'm walking, I'm talking. Yeah, these things on here. They're called adverbs, and you can put them anywhere you want. They used to call them particles a long time ago. But yeah, you can throw those in the beginning, the middle, or the end. Yeah. once you're listening to elders, you can kind of form where they put them and just follow their pattern. Yeah. All right.
There's a request for one more example.
All
I'm
right.
laughing while we eat.
Okay, so the example is in the C form sentences, or the example is in translating sentences?
There's an example sentence is, I'm laughing while we eat.
Oh, okay. All right, so, okay, what was the sentence again, Shannon, in English?
I'm laughing while we eat.
We inclusive or exclusive? So I know the word is bop. It's up to you. Okay. Bape is laughing, so I'm going to change that to I am. Take off one I or one E. And then to use Jason's word, megwa, while. And then I know the word is wisine. So now I want to add person talking about at the end, including the person, inclusive. So nimbap megwa wisine young. Nimbap megwa wisine young. So that's how that one would work. One thing to remember is that when we're making sentences, you can have one A form sentence, and then the ones after that have to be B form if they're in the same sentence. So that's what we did here was nimbap was an A form sentence, and then after that, the B form sentences, the person you're talking about is at the end.
Jason, would it change if we change a sentence if we add ewi sinyang?
Oh, yeah, I like that one because it means like, okay, so I'll show you guys what Charlotte did in here, okay? She had this word. That's the right one. That's what you're trying to say, right, Charlie?
What is it? What is it? And
Nimbap megwa ene wisini young.
The way I translated would be nimbap megwa ewi sinyang. Ewi sinyang. So it's just a at the beginning. I mean, before that, yeah, like that.
I don't know if that's a recent dialect.
Yeah. So are you trying to say, like, when you translate that in English, does it sound like I'm eating while I'm doing, or I'm laughing while I'm doing that thing, eating? Because
I don't know, but
okay,
that's, I'm trying to figure out why there would be a sound before ewi sinyang.
Yeah, two things going on. Okay, so it could be the slang version of ane. Young. Ane means in the process of doing something. The other thing that it could be is you know, when you say away or ow like that, it means that. And I noticed that is used quite a bit, the word that. So it could be I'm eating while I'm doing that thing, or I'm laughing while I'm doing that thing. The thing is eating. So it could be that one too. So two things. That one could be that, or the word that, or it could be a slang or version of ane, like ane, and then it changed to just shortening it. So when we shorten it, that's kind of what fluent speakers do, is they shorten these sentences to sound more fluent. And we do it all the time in English. You know, we don't always say, what are you doing today? You know, we don't talk like that. We say something like, what you doing today? Or what you doing later? you know, chidoin. So the chidoin is short form for what are you doing? So the same thing happens with Ojibwe when you might say something in the process of eating. So you could change it to a wisinian or a wisiniyang. So you could change it that way. But I've heard this a part used quite a bit with the word for that. You know, Waynan a ganamattabid. Who is that one? That one who is sitting. So that's how I've heard that one before too. So a couple of things, and the only way you get that answer, like, is if you listen to the next sentences after that. So a couple of things, like they both translate really well. Who is the one who is in the process of eating? Or I'm laughing while we're in the process of eating. Or I'm laughing while we're doing that thing, which is eating. So they both translate pretty good. They could both mean the same thing, and the meanings don't really change that much. Yeah, I see that one quite a bit more towards Dryden area, the A one. All right, any more questions? All right. Okay, I can't tell if there's anybody in the chat that's doing anything.
Gawin.
All right. So in a couple of weeks, just send me some things that you guys want to do. I'd be really interested in doing some translations with some elders that are speaking Ojibwe.
Oh yeah,
So
I'll
if you guys
post
want
the
to do
link
that,
too from today's session.
Yeah, yeah, I go by on whatever you guys are asking.
I just have to find it.
All right. Well, I guess if nobody has questions, if you think of questions later too, just send them to Shannon too. And you know, if there's another topic you guys want to talk about, definitely give it a whirl.
So in the chat, there is a link for feedback form, so you can add feedback there, or if during the week you have an idea that you want more explanation, or if you want a review of something that's already done, just let us know. Miigwech, Jason.